those of you who don't know me, I'm not sure who was here in the last class or been to any of my classes that I've done at the libraries, but my name is Karen, and I'm a registered nurse and also a health coach and teach plant-based cooking classes. So tonight we're going to do Asian-inspired dishes. I love Asian. There's so many great flavors in the Asian cuisine, and it's one of the easiest cuisines to make plant-based because obviously they use lots and lots of vegetables, and you just don't put the meat in. So that's we're going to do a few recipes. So I don't know if you downloaded the recipes that ahead of time, but if you didn't, they are available on the link that they sent you. And the first one I'm going to start with, I'm going to start a little out of order because I want to put these in the oven. I'm doing roasted chickpea and edamame. I love both of these beans. Edamame is soybeans and chickpeas are chickpeas. So I used a can of organic garbanzo beans. This is ShopRite brand. They actually lowered their prices. These are only 94 cents. They used to be $1. You can certainly use regular. You don't have to use organic. I think regulars are like 59 cents. So, beans are extremely cheap. And then the edamame is, I bought it already shelled. This is from Trader Joe's. You can buy it in the shell. But if you're using it for a recipe, it's a pain in the butt because then you got to sit there and shell all the beans. So I buy it already shelled and it comes frozen, and I just put it in the refrigerator overnight, and then it was ready to go. You can nuke them or you can boil them, however you want. So this is pretty simple. I'm just going to spray. Well, what I did was first I rinsed off the chickpeas, and I mixed them with the edamame here, and then I took a paper towel and kind of rubbed over them because you want to get the wetness off of them. And then I'm going to use just a little bit of olive oil spray. Again, this is organic extra virgin olive oil from ShopRite. And I'm just going to spray them just a little bit. And you don't have to put anything on here if you don't want, but I'm going to put a little salt. Now this is a great snack, or you can add them to like your salad, keep them in a container after they're done. And they're full of protein and full of fiber, and those two things together are going to keep you full. And very low in calories, and again, very cheap. All right. So basically that's it. I'm just going to kind of roll them around here. And then you can either bake these in the oven for, let's see, I think our recipe says 400 degrees for 15 minutes. I'm actually going to use my air fryer. And I don't know if you can see it back there. This is my newest kitchen tool. I think I talked about it last class, but for those of you who weren't there, this is a Cuisinart. It's a toaster oven, regular oven, convection oven, and air fryer. And you can see how nice and big this basket is. I had a traditional air fryer, and they're real big and bulky, and you really can't fit a whole lot in them. This is like a game changer. I just love this. And it was really not that much more, especially for the summertime. It's been great because I don't have to turn on my big oven, so it doesn't heat up the house as much. But it's just so much more convenient sitting on your and it cooks so much faster. So I'm actually going to put these in this little air fryer basket. And you really don't, like 5 to 10 minutes is usually probably enough time. Just going to spread them out, make sure they're like a single layer. And if you're baking these in the oven, you probably want to like check them maybe after 5 or 10 minutes and kind of give them a shape, making sure that, all of them get nice and crispy. I'm just kind of taking off the little skins that kind of came off the chickpeas.
Chickpeas.
So I'm going to throw them in the air fryer, and I'm going to start off just at 5 minutes because I don't want to overdo it. Because I'm still kind of getting used to this air fryer. All right, that's the set. Let me get this out. So the next recipe I'm going to do is this Asian, it's a Thai salad. You know, mostly everything I do, when I do the classes, I tend to do more of the raw thing because it's just easier to show. It's hard to do a cooking. Oh, my stove's behind me. All right, so I'm just going to kind of get my recipe over here. This one. All right, so this is a chopped Thai salad with a sesame garlic dressing. Oh, I forgot to grab my garlic, so I'm just going to grab the garlic. So I'm going to make the dressing first. And again, I'm going to show you one of my favorite kitchen tools. This is the Little Mini Ninja chopper, little food processor. I use it every day. Leave it on my counter. It is invaluable. And for some reason, it's really hard to get. I don't know if they're coming out with a new model. Sometimes when they come out with a new model, they like discontinue, the existing model. But I had a really hard time finding it because I wanted to get one for my niece, and I actually had to buy it on eBay. Used to be able to find them anywhere, as Target, Walmart, Amazon. You can't find them now. So hopefully, I mean, there's other brands that have one. It's just this is the one that I actually like a lot. All right, so this, so I'm going to make the dressing in here because it just makes it nice and creamy. Calls for 3 cloves of garlic. Now, I buy the chopped organic garlic already because it's just more convenient, and I just keep it in the refrigerator. So I'm actually just going to use like half a tablespoon. I don't want too much. I want to do overpowering here. And then it calls for 3 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce or any kind of soy you can use. This is a gluten-free reduced sodium tamari. You can also use like liquid aminos, also another choice. They sort of taste the same. So that's 3 tablespoons. It's going to be just about using that one up. That's all right, and then we have white distilled vinegar, just plain old white vinegar. There's a couple tablespoons of that. This is a really good dressing. If you like Asian. If you don't like Asian, you don't like soy sauce, you're probably not going to like any of these. And then to give it a sweetness, we're going to use some maple syrup. You can use, if you like agave or people use honey, you can, but I'd rather use maple syrup. 2 tablespoons of that. And then if you're really trying to avoid any kind of refined sugars because of processed, it's not really refined, but it is processed because maple syrup is still processed. You can substitute and use dates. If you soak a couple dates and make them really soft, then they're gonna blend up nice. So I've used dates in a lot of recipes also for dressings. All right, and then we have 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. I tend not to use oil or a lot of oil in my recipes, but this sesame oil is one of those oils that just gives it such a distinct flavor that if you leave it out, it's not going to be the same. And it's only a tablespoon, and when you see how much, how big the salad is, it really isn't that much, and it's fine. If you really, really don't want to use oil, then just leave it out. Just 1 tablespoon. And then it says a tablespoon of lemongrass paste, which I actually don't even know what it is, or ginger. I forgot to buy some fresh ginger, so I'm actually just going to use a little bit of powdered ginger. And of course, you know, fresh is always going to give it a little bit different, more distinct flavor, but this is good. And then we're going to use it to squeeze a lime, okay? Fresh lime. And this is another one of my favorite kitchen gadgets. Pretty inexpensive, just a lemon lime squeezer. Just helps you get every little last drip out. So I'm just going to put a little bit in here. That's it. I'm going to check my chickpeas and edamame here. They smell delicious. I wish you guys could smell it. All right, so now for the salad. Kale, you can use curly kale or you can use baby kale, whatever you want. I bought kale already triple lot from Trader Joe's. And then it calls for some more edamame. So again, I have that already here to go. 3 large carrots, which I've actually already grated. I use just the regular grater. It's easy the way to peel your carrots. And then it calls for 2 bell peppers. I'm actually halving this since it's just me eating all this food now. So I already sliced up some bell peppers into nice thin strips. And it calls for 3 green onions. So I'm using the white and the green parts. And I'm just gonna slice them really. I'm just slicing them. Yeah. You know, you can adjust this recipe, obviously, however you like. If you don't like green onions, you don't use the green onions. All right, I have all that. And my cilantro, which I forgot to get out of big so let me grab that. So I have some fresh cilantro. Smells so good. If there's anybody out there that has a cilantro aversion, I know there's people that either love it or they hate it.
I hate it.
And they've actually found that people have a gene that makes them not like cilantro. Really weird. But I never knew about that until I started doing these demos. People were just like, I hate cilantro. It's like, that's really weird. But I guess it's just like anything. I don't like asparagus. I mean, that's one vegetable I cannot get down. I'm not a huge fan of mushrooms, but I'll eat them if they're in something. So it's just weird how some people like some things and not others. All right, so we just got some, I'm gonna just chop it up. And then it also calls for a 3/4 of a cup of cashews. Now, you want to buy raw cashews. Don't buy them roasted, because if you buy them roasted, they've been roasted in oil. You're going to add a ton more calories and fat to your diet. Plus, they don't taste the same if they're already roasted. It calls for raw in a recipe. Trader Joe's has a pretty good price on if you buy the raw pieces instead of the whole. It's $1, 16 ounces, I think, is $5.99. For the whole is like $6.99. So it's $1 cheaper. And if you're using them in a recipe, it doesn't matter the whole. And then again, like I said, I store all my seeds and all my nuts in mason jars and keep them in the refrigerator. Some people like to store their nuts in their freezer too, but either way, they're going to keep longer. And I use them often enough that the refrigerator is fine for me. But if you're someone that only use them, say, for like baking or whatever, then you may want to put them in the freezer and then they'll keep longer. Also, BJ's has a good price on raw nuts. You can buy them in a bigger packet. All right. So these are actually done. I'm going to show you these. Okay. If you can see, they're roasted. So they're going to cool and they're going to be really crunchy. And like I said, you can use them like for salad topper, or you can just eat them as a snack. You know, try these with the kids because they're maybe leave the pepper off, but you know they're so high in fiber and protein. So, all right, they said they smell so good. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just blend my dressing ingredients to get that nice and mixed. That's it for that. It smells good too. Oh, all the different flavors. All right, so those of you who have never had kale, I would imagine probably everybody's watching has had kale, but I never ate kale until I changed my diet to plant-based, which was 8 years ago. I may have had kale and burnt me, but I never bought it. I can tell you that. I never bought it and made myself a kale. And it wasn't until I went to the vegetarian food festival in New York City and I saw a cooking demo of a chef massaging her kale that's when I really started liking kale. Because as you know, it's tough and it can be chewy. So in order to make it palatable and more tender, you're going to massage it. So you want to use some kind of liquid to kind of get the massage. I'm using lime juice because that's part of the recipe. So you can always, use whatever, if you have lemon or lime in the recipe that you're using, you can use that. Or you can actually just use a little bit of the dressing, whatever dressing you're using. Some people will use a little bit of olive oil. It's fine if you want to do that. But what I tell people is if you're using olive oil to massage it, instead of pouring it on, tend to like over pour, just put a little bit of olive oil in your hands and rub it together and then just massage. And then you'll just have enough. You won't like overdo it on the oil. Okay. So when you massage it, you also want to rip it. And then what happens is you'll see that the color, I'm going to take off the stems while I'm doing this. The only thing about getting the kale in a bag like this, it still has the stems in it. Whereas if you buy it on the stems, you can just de-stem it and then not have to deal with them. Yeah. I don't like the stems. They're hard. They're chewy. They're tough. I tend to save the stems when I do buy the whole kale, and I juice them. Some people will chop them up and saute them. I don't like eating that way. So as you do this, you'll notice that the color is going to actually become more vibrant. It's going to become a darker green. And you can do this as long as you start seeing it break down. The more you do it, the more tender it's going to be and easier to digest. And I swear, every time I make a kale salad, I have several people who say they don't like kale, and then as soon as they eat it, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is kale. Because this makes a huge difference, just doing this. And yeah, it's a little time consuming, but it's like, it's like, use it as your meditation. Or if you're cooking, you have your TV on or whatever, try to multitask while you're doing this. Also too, if you have kids or you have grandkids, it's a great way to get them involved, get them in the kitchen with you. I have my grandbaby who will be 21 months in a couple weeks, and we actually started doing an Instagram channel called Mari and Mama, and I bought her this little step stool thing. It's like a little cage she stands in, and we cook together, and we've been making videos together. So when they help you, a lot of times they're more apt to taste what they're making. So again, like I said, get those kids in there, get them in the kitchen, you know, get some kid-friendly tools for them. You know, if you have little ones, like ones that, like my grandbaby's age, you know, obviously it's going to be a little bit messier because they tend to be, you know, they're going to be messy, but I don't care. I'm like, I can always clean up the mess. It's more fun with me. It's more important to me to have her involved and to spend time with her than to worry about the mess. And right, that's what grandparents are for, right? All right, you can also see that it's also, as you can see, it's like half the bowl now. So it does make it go down. So if I put that whole bag of kale in here and massage it, it probably would, you know, be, the bowl would then be full. All right. All right, so that's that. I'm gonna just wash my hands real quick. All right. So what else? So then, oh my goodness, sorry if you can hear someone's been texting me. I have no idea what it is. So what we're going to do is, it calls for, you want to pulse the edamame. You're going to throw it in your food processor. And by doing this, it's going to incorporate the flavors more. I'm just going to. So just pulse it a couple times. And let's see, and then we're gonna, so I'm just gonna put all the rest of the ingredients here. We have the peppers, we have the carrots, oh, sorry, my doggies. He's looking at someone back there. All right, Scar, it's enough. Get all these nice green onions, lots of green. Green and orange seems to be the theme of this salad. And then some cilantro. And then I'm going to put this, you can see the edamame is kind of like broken up. Is the soy in its purest form. Okay, and then you have tempeh, and then you have tofu. All right, and then also you're going to take those cashews, like 3/4 of a cup, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to kind of just pulse it. This literally is one of my favorite salads. And I've taken this to like showers, bridal showers or wedding showers, and it's been a big hit. So that's it. Just mix it up, and then I'm going to add the dressing. And this even, it tastes better the next day too. So you could have easily done everything in your mini food processor if you wanted to. You would just have to use, dump out. This is a very inexpensive. This was a Farberware. I think it was probably $30. So if you don't have a food processor, I do love using my food processor for certain recipes. It's easier. Some recipes are easier to use in a food processor than like the Vitamix. All right, and basically that's it. You can see. I wish you guys could taste it. So
she has no granny fat.
Really good. Yeah. All right, so that's our first. That's the first salad. I'm going to put this aside. And kind of get a little bit of the stuff out of the way. Does anybody have any questions when I'm kind of setting up for the next one? Does anybody have their... Just going to rinse this off because I want to use it again. I'm going to use, so the next recipe I have are spring rolls. I love spring rolls. And I was very intimidated to make them at first because I thought they have to be really hard. But I just YouTubed how to make spring rolls and saw a tutorial of how to do it, and it was really easy. It is it's a little bit of time consuming, but it's a fun thing and it's worth it. They're really good. So these are just spring roll wrappers. Again, you can pretty much find them anywhere in the Asian section of your grocery store. They even have they're made of rice, okay? Vietnamese rice pancakes is what they are. You can get brown rice ones too if you want. They're just a little tougher. I tend not to use white rice, but I don't eat these that often, maybe once a month with that. So I would rather just use the regular white rice one. But if you really rather stay away from the white, they do make the brown rice one. They are a little bit harder to find. Usually like Whole Foods and Mom's, you can find them. And probably like Asian specialty stores, they probably have them too. All right. So I'm going to make the dipping sauce first because this is actually, I think, the best part of it. In the recipes, there's actually 2 different dressings. Let me just get the right one. Let's see where we are. I have a peanut dipping sauce, which that's the one I'm going to make. That one is like delicious. And the other one is a soy ginger spicy dressing, which I'm not going to make. It's pretty self-explanatory. I make it the same way. I'm going to use a little mini processor and throw everything in here. So I'm going to make the peanut butter one. So this is just, and you also can use almond butter if you don't want to use peanut butter. And if you have a nut allergy or you're making a someone nut, you can use sun butter, which is sunflower seeds. So there's a lot of options. Really, it's just the creaminess of it. The peanut butter, though, has such a great flavor. Misplaced my spatula. Honest. Use it. All right, so it calls for a 3/4 cup. I'm not even going to measure. Most of the time when I'm making stuff for myself, I don't measure. I just kind of eyeball it. If you cook a lot, you'll pretty much know how much a 1/2 cup is or 1/4 cup, or it doesn't really matter if it's not exact. The only time you need to be exact in your measurements is when you're baking. Because your baking measurements, if they're a little bit off, then it's not coming out right. All right, and then it calls for a 1/4 cup of rice vinegar, but I'm actually taking this down again because I'm not making a volume. I want to have a ton of it left. So this is rice vinegar.
I love rice vinegar.
Just going to use a couple tablespoons. And it calls for a little bit of water. I'm just going to put a couple squirts of water in there. And then it calls for tamari, or soy sauce. This is an organic tamari soy sauce. It tends to have less sodium in it. I actually bought this at an Asian specialty store. So I know you can get, I've been to a couple. If you ever go to like either Asian or Indian specialty stores, you can get all kinds of neat things. And they're really inexpensive. Like you can get like bulk spices for really cheap. So if you're really, you know, on a budget or you want to experiment with different flavors, you know, try going to those two. And they're pretty much, I know Cherry Hill has a bunch. I actually got this Asian one down in Atlantic City. We have a place in Atlantic City, so I went to an Asian store there. You can find them pretty much anywhere. All right, and this calls also, so the next thing is maple syrup. And it calls for 3 tablespoons. I'm just going to do 2. This sauce also you can use for a pad thai if you want to use it, make just the noodles. It's a really good, has a great flavor. You can use either fresh ginger or ground ginger, and I'm going to use the ground. But again, that's what's nice about the little processor. If you're using fresh ginger, it'll really, you can just slice a couple pieces there and it'll cream it up. And then it calls for some garlic. A little bit of garlic in there. And then if you're the spicy kind, you like spice in your food, then you can add a little bit of hot sauce or sriracha, sriracha sauce or any kind of hot pepper sauce. All right, so I'm just going to mix that up. So again, just eyeball it. If it's a little bit too thin, which this one is, I'm going to add a little bit more peanut butter because you want it kind of on the thicker side. You also can use tahini if you wanted to, but that's going to give it a whole nother flavor. And tahini is sesame seeds. That's another alternative to a nut free. Okay. That's the, you can see it got nice and thick now.
Yum.
It's so good. All right. So now let's get these wrappers going. Let me get this out of the way. You want to fill a bowl with water. It doesn't matter if it's warm or cold. It'll work either way. Just going to grab it next. All right. So these you can pretty much fill with whatever you want. I tend to use like the red cabbage, but I was at just chop up red cabbage. But when I was at Trader Joe's, I found that already organic shredded green red cabbage and carrots already shredded. So for time purposes, I picked this up. I normally would just shred stuff myself. If I was making for a big class, it'd be a little bit cheaper. And then I'm going to use some of these organic collard greens, which is kale, chard, spinach, collard greens, and baby Mizuna. And receive. Okay, there's that. And then I like to use some noodles in mine. And these are my favorite ones, these brown rice noodles, but they're the thin ones. You can use the thicker ones if you want. These literally take 2 minutes to cook. I cooked them earlier, so they're ready to use. But this, you want them cold. You know, this is a cold roll, so you don't want these hot. So you just kind of pull them down. You can run them under cold water if you have them sit down for a while to kind of separate them. So like I said, if I'm making a pad thai with that peanut dressing, I would use the thicker ones because these thin ones they're hard to mix if you're making as a dish with noodles. I like using the thicker ones. And this same brand has the thicker noodles. This is another one that's hard to find, the thin ones. Again, Trader Joe's, Mom's, they have them. Not Trader Joe's, I'm sorry. Whole Foods, maybe Wegmans probably too. But I tend to order some of the harder to find stuff online through Vitacost. If you're not familiar with them, it's an online, they started off with just vitamins, but they sell all kinds of stuff now, you know, from, I get my shampoo and my cleaning stuff there, my laundry detergent, to food staples. And they tend to be good price. They always have sales. A lot of times if you like go and put stuff in your cart and you don't buy it, like 3 days later, they'll send you a coupon and say, hey, here's 10% off to finish your cart. So stuff like that. In the beginning of COVID, when I didn't want to go out, I ordered a lot from Vitacost. Now it just depends. If I'm making a trip to Whole Foods after work, then I'll just pick it up there. Or if I'm making an order, then I'll get some more. But so that's them. All right, so now comes the fun part. I'm going to use a towel. It's easier to roll it if you put a towel down. And then you just kind of get a little organized here. I'm only making one, so you know, it's a little messy here because I'm just doing the demo for online here. Normally, if I was teaching a class and I'm feeding everybody, I would be a lot more organized and ready to go. I have everything all lined up, and so you could just take each item and put it in there. All right, all right. So, sorry, my dog's gonna bark because sounds like my husband just came. All right, so this is what it looks like. It's very flimsy, so you got to be really careful, okay, because they can rip. So what you want to do is take your bowl of water, preferably to get a dish that maybe is bigger than the thing, but I'm just going to kind of slide this in the water and just kind of like turn it around till it's soft on the ends, and then I'm going to just push it down into the bowl to get it all completely wet. So it's really stiff, so you just kind of play with it. Just keep on pushing it down in the water, and you're going to feel it soften up. Okay. The first time I made these, the first couple ones I messed up. There's a learning curve there, so just play with it. They're extremely cheap, so if you mess up a couple, it's not that big of a deal. But the idea is to get it really wet and very flimsy so you can roll it. All right, so this one seems like it's ready. So now it's like really kind of thin, see it? And then we're gonna put it down here. And you can see it's easier, like I said, if you put it on a towel, or if I did this on my countertop, it'd be a little bit harder to see also. So you get a towel that has color in it, and then just kind of make it, you want to flatten it out. Again, you want to be careful because it's very, very thin.
She's
Can you guys
probably
see it? Can you see it?
She's
I know
probably
it's
at my age. She's probably at my age. She doesn't have the wrinkly arms or the granny flab.
Now I'm going to fill it, and I'm going to start off with just some noodles. Just put some noodles on there. You don't want to put too much because then it's going to be hard to roll. And then I'm going to put this cabbage mix in here. And then you can put peppers, you can put cucumbers, you can put avocado, you can do some baked tofu in here. Like I said, there's no rule what you need to put in there, whatever you like. I'm gonna put a few pieces of the greens in here. All right, so now I'm gonna roll it sort of like a burrito.
I can see.
All right. So again, you gotta be careful. Just gonna roll this over. Just kind of tuck that in. Roll the one piece over. Another one. And then that's it. You see, you have a pretty little spring roll. Right? And then dump this water. You're going to take some of this peanut sauce. Put it in here. All right, and then I'm going to cut this. You can see that.
Yeah, pretty.
It's pretty, right? And then you put some of that peanut dipping sauce on it, and delicious. And they're probably like, I don't know, 20 calories. There's like nothing to these. The dipping sauce probably has more than the spring roll itself because you got the peanut butter in there. The nut butter is obviously a little bit more. They're calorie dense, but they're delicious. They're filling. I mean, I usually eat probably around 4 of them at a sitting. And they also, you can make them ahead of time and put them in the refrigerator. The only thing is you want, because they are sticky, you have to make sure that they're, you don't stack them on top of each other or they're going to stick and then they're all going to rip. So you kind of really have to make sure you separate it, and you can actually put like maybe a piece of paper towel in between each one, so that they don't stick together. But again, this is another fun activity to do with the family. Everybody, you can lay out all the ingredients and everybody can put in what they want. One person may not like avocado, this person may not like cabbage, whatever. But this is a fun dinner night to have with the family. And they're usually a pretty good hit with the kids too. They usually like it, especially the peanut sauce. You may want to maybe leave out maybe the soy sauce, maybe just do some of the rice vinegar with peanut butter and maple syrup, and that's a good combination too. Okay. All right, so that's that one. We're actually going pretty quickly here. I'm going to put that aside. So the dessert I have for you tonight is, let me watch this. The thing is about using the same equipment. So the dessert I'm going to make is a chocolate mousse made with tofu. And I've made this for events that I've had, and people couldn't believe that it was tofu. People that have never had tofu before were kind of surprised how good it was. All right, I'm just gonna rinse this off. I do have another one, but I'm going to take that out. Oh, what happened to the lid? Ah, all stuck. All right. So, tofu. Excuse me. So anytime you make a dessert with tofu, you always want to get silken or soft tofu because that's more creamy. It has like more water content in it, so it's going to be creamy. You don't want to get like an extra firm and try to make a mousse out of it. It's not going to taste very good, and you won't impress anybody with it. So this is soft tofu. I try to get the silken, but sometimes it's hard to find the silken for some reason. I was in Trader Joe's and they didn't have any. So I actually bought this soft tofu at ShopRite. This is 3 ingredients. It's the silken or soft tofu. It's maple syrup. And again, you can use dates. You don't use maple syrup. And if you're using dates in a recipe, because they can be kind of firm and chunky, you don't want that chunkiness in your pudding or mousse. What I usually do is I'll take some boiling water and then put them over the dates and make them sit for like 10 to 15 minutes, and that gets them all nice and soft. So when you spin them or whip them up, they'll combine better. And then the third ingredient is cacao powder. Okay, this is just pure organic cacao powder. No sugar, no nothing, just chocolate. By itself, it tastes horrible because there's no sweetener in it. That's why you add the maple syrup or the dates to it.
Karen,
Yes,
do you refrigerate that cacao powder?
I do. Like I said, I tend to put mostly everything in jars and I put it in a refrigerator. I don't know if it's absolutely necessary, but the reason I do is because I buy the big bag, it's cheaper, and I don't use it a lot, so I just feel that it lasts longer in the refrigerator, especially in the summertime. You don't want it, even though I have the air conditioner on, it's still not, in the closet. So just to be safe, I put it in the refrigerator. It won't go bad, in the refrigerator, but it may go bad in the cabinet. I don't know. I haven't really had a lot of experience with it, so. I also put my dates in the refrigerator too, and they tend to get hard. So when I do have to use them for a recipe, I always soak them.
Thank you.
So again, I'm going to use my little processor. I'm just going to do half. And if you've never had silken tofu before, you can see it's like really, really creamy looking. Whereas regular extra firm, it's kind of looks more like a sponge. It has like those holes kind of in it. Also too, the silken doesn't tend to have as much protein content in it because again, it has more water in it. So your extra firm has more protein if you're really concerned about your protein, which you shouldn't be. But some people are a little obsessed.
And you don't have to press that to get the water out?
No, because you want it's going to be creamy anyway. So this is the one time you really don't have to. But if you do want to press it, this is one of my favorite gadgets, the tofu press. Before I would put pots on top of it in a colander, and you really could never get it really well. This is the 3-piece thing. and you just pop this in here, put the tofu in here, put this on top, and then you pull these, and it's amazing how much water comes out of it, and it really makes it nice and firm. So I use this like all the time because we eat tofu at least once a week. We love it. All right, this is another great dessert for kids. They'll have no idea they're eating something that's extremely healthy for them. Especially if you have a picky toddler, which we do at this point. She is plant-based also. She's been plant-based since birth, since her mom was plant-based her whole pregnancy, so she's pretty much been plant-based since she was conceived. But she ate everything from the moment my daughter fed her at 6 months old. I mean, the baby ate everything we eat, every plant, every legume, bean, everything. And then at that magic 18 months, everybody tells you, toddler, one day they like something, the next day they stick their nose to it. So she's very picky now, and some days she eats great, other days she won't eat anything. So we've been trying to give her, more nutrient dense stuff. And this is one of the things that she really likes. Now, I don't use the chocolate for her. I think she's still too young to have chocolate. Plus, she has enough energy. She doesn't need any caffeine. So what I made for her was I actually did the silken tofu with pumpkin, canned pumpkin, some allspice for pumpkin spice, and maple syrup or dates, either one. And she loved it. So she ate like a whole little bowl of it. And like I said, tofu is just extremely nutritious. All right, so I'm just gonna put some of this sugar. I'm gonna do like 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. And then again, with the cacao powder, it depends on how chocolatey you want it. I'm gonna put a couple tablespoons in. If you've never worked with pure cacao, you want to be careful if you're sensitive to caffeine, because it has a very high caffeine level because it's pure chocolate. Okay, I'm one of those people that are very sensitive to caffeine, and for sure that includes chocolate. So I have to be careful. I can't eat a ton of it, especially at nighttime, or I'll be up and won't be able to sleep. So that's it. It's I'll whip that up. You can make this in your Vitamix too if you want. The only thing about the Vitamix is if you're only making a small amount, it's really hard for it to mix. So, like if I'm making this for a class, then I probably would have done it in the Vitamix, because obviously I want to make a bigger amount, and the Vitamix is so much stronger, it's gonna take less time to get creamy. Grab something. Great. It literally just looks like chocolate pudding. And again, you can adjust the sweetness to it. If you like it sweeter, put a little bit more in. But you can see how nice and pudding. And then what I like to do is put. Sorry, my dog's. The dog's barking, whiny. It looks like she needs food. I like putting some chocolate chips on, or if you want to really get fancy, I don't have any piece here. take a bar of dark chocolate and just shave a little bit on top. But I'm gonna put a couple, just some chocolate chips on top.
Yum.
And you have a really yummy, decadent dessert that is healthy. Really healthy for you, with no refined sugar. So that's it. I hope if you guys try any of these recipes, let me know. I mean, you know, they're not. These recipes aren't like I didn't come up with them. You know, like when I first went plant-based, I didn't have anybody to bounce off of. I didn't know anybody that was vegan or plant-based, so I just went to the internet and went to Pinterest and just started looking up, you know, vegan recipes. And then I just started veganizing my favorite recipes. But the chocolate mousse one, like I found on there, and just altered it a little bit. There's plenty of recipes for spring rolls and different dipping sauces. The salad, sometimes I eliminate some of the ingredients if they're like too exotic, or if I don't have them, or if there's too many to begin with. Because if you're like me, when I pull up a recipe, if it's got like a million ingredients, I'm like, oh no, I'm not making that. It's too much. So sometimes I'll just kind of like go through those recipes and put a couple of them together and then come up with my own, you know, my own version of it. But that's it. That's what I have for you for tonight for my Asian inspired. Any questions? Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, if you make any of the recipes, let me know. Tag me in them if you're on Instagram. And if you're on Instagram, follow me at Karen's Healing Kitchen. I'm also on Facebook under the same name. And then again, my new Instagram is Mari and Mama, and that's where I'm making recipes for kids. So if you know anybody that has young kids and they're trying to get them to eat healthier, send them my way.